just got another little quick demonstration video for the scuba diving gear. So all of you Santi Drysuit fans out there, this one's for you. And this is not an original idea by any means. If you guys are out there and you know of Jill Heinerth, underwater explorer extraordinaire, cave diver, technical diver for many years, Nat Geo and all the other great productions that she does. She's an amazing woman and an amazing diver and brought us a lot of exciting adventures. She recently, a while back, actually posted a video on what she does for dry gloves, and from that situation, the technique and the tools that they used, her and her group of dive buddies, had come up with some really cool loading rings. So when you're trying to do the when you're not using a manufactured ring system on your dry gloves, the outer rubber gloves or whatever material they might be made out of, and they have the ring system, if you're opting to do like the Marigold dishwasher gloves, or myself, which I've opted to do and Jill has suggested in her video, I'm going to leave a link of that video down below so you can actually watch that in its full content and get some information and some ideas from that. And this is kind of my response and my version of what I've come up to doing based upon what she shared. And it's a really great system, especially if you're looking to install. Once again, this is for Santi Drysuit owners or people that are diving with a Santi Drysuit, because as you'll see in a moment, the rubber cuff actually is rubber on the outside and makes an excellent seal for stretchy rubberized gloves to go on the outside of that if you'd like to do it on a less expensive. I chose to do this not so much because it's a economical, less expensive equation, but just because it tends to work really well. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you, and I'll put a link to her video, like I said, and the parts that we're using, I'll link them in there where I got them at the hardware store. She has used some loading rings. She started out, as she suggested, with pieces of PVC. They may have taken just regular PVC pipe and cut it with, probably some type of cutting instrument such as a hacksaw or other appropriate cutting tool, and maybe the edges weren't quite so smooth and finished, and maybe there was some concern with that tearing the rubber gloves. She doesn't mention that, but I'm just kind of curious on how that might have been. Or maybe she did get a coupler piece that was finished on the end, so it wasn't so sharp. So you got to be careful. You don't want to use some type of device that's going to cut into the rubber gloves or the Marigold gloves and cause you troubles. But at any rate, she explains in her video that she had some friends with some capabilities with 3D printing, and they actually printed some really nice 3D printed rings that were the appropriate size. Well, I don't personally at this time yet have a 3D printer, and so I was considering what could I get off the shelf for just a few bucks at the hardware store, and that's what I'm going to share with you in my video. And it tends to work really well as loading rings. You don't need to necessarily have two of them. You can load one glove, and after you install the glove, you can easily use the same loading ring for the other glove and quickly put it on there. But my suggestion is that you just buy two of whatever if you decide to do this, and then you have a spare, and you have the option if you want to just take both of them in a kit like I've got, and I'll show that in a moment, or how you want to do that. If you have at least two and they're round, if you set them down and they roll away by some unfortunate chance, if you're on a dock or next to the water or somehow it gets away from you, if you have a spare one, it's always nice to have so you can keep going with the same system. The whole point here is that we can install the dry gloves, because this is we're not using a ring system where they just snap in, as you've seen or already know about. If you're a dry suit diver, you would already know that there's some expensive fitted gloves, and the Scuba, I think, or Kubi, if however I'm pronouncing it correctly, and they got some metal and plastic rings that snap into the sleeve. You got to fit all that. With this setup, you can go wet or dry on a moment's notice. If you've got wet neoprene gloves that are really thick and really cold water, and you prefer to use those on a certain dive, you can simply just put those on and it's the same as always. Or if you want to go dry, you can just put your dry gloves on, and it's no difference to the actual sleeve, no addition or adaptations to your Santi Drysuit sleeve. You just leave your regular wrist seal on and operate it that way, either way, depending on whichever glove you want to put on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get set up here. I'm going to get the dry suit on just so we can go ahead and demonstrate a little bit easier so you can see exactly how easy it is. I'm not going to have my undersuit on because I'm here in the house and it just gets a little bit warm and it's not really necessary. Just understand that if you do have like a Santi undersuit and it has a thumb loop that's elasticated, or a piece of elastic I should say, the little thumb loop that goes around your thumb, as Jill also pointed out, if you just bring that out from underneath the seal, that'll break the actual seal against your wrist, allowing air pressure to equalize up into the glove, so you don't have any issues when you come up on your ascent that the glove starts to expand with the gas that's in there and pops off, or whatever the case may be. I also, like Jill, prefer to keep my wrist seals intact in case they do take a small pinhole or a tear in my rubber glove. I'm not into a situation where I've got a massive amount of seawater or lake water going into my suit, and that would be unfortunate. And so I tend to just leave my wrist seals on and continue to dive as I normally would. But I have my underglove, which I'll show you, which and also the outer glove, which is it's a rubber chemical glove from Amazon. Pretty cheap too, and I'll explain that here in a moment. So I'll reference those, so if you want to look at those and get those for yourself and try it out, by all means. Once again, this is for Santi Drysuit owners because of the type of rubber cuff that they have put on the end of their dry suits allows us this opportunity. If you have a different brand dry suit, you're going to have to see if you have rubber around the outside, so when you stretch a glove over it, it actually makes a seal. Not all of them have that opportunity. Sometimes you have a tri-laminate cuff that goes over the rubber part of it, which would make it very difficult to even try this type of scenario. So it is kind of specific to the Santi dry suits and maybe some other ones that are out there by other manufacturers, but you would have to take and do your own testing to figure out if it's going to work for you or not. So without further delay, let's get into the dry suit, and here I am. I've donned the dry suit on now. I've got my Santi dry suit on, just to be able to show you and be able to demonstrate a little bit more easily so you can see exactly what's going on here and how easy this system really is. We've got the Cytec typical silicone wrist seals on this suit, real nice. And if you look here, this whole piece between my thumb and pointer finger here is about a 1 inch, I believe. It's all rubber. This is rubber all the way around. So if you are a Santi Drysuit owner, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And it's real nice. So let me go ahead and got a little kit here. Got a little weight bag here, a Kona weight bag, and it seems to work pretty well. Like I said before, you don't have to have both of the PVC couplers. If you just want one, maybe if you buy two and keep one in the vehicle as a spare or whatnot, but at any rate, we are using the same G1 undergloves, really nice. And yeah, so I'm using that same system as far as the undergloves. With or without them on, I can still load the rubber chemical gloves. There's kind of like what people use for cleaning. They do have some diamond grip on it, and I will leave a link as far as what those are. And they're just a few bucks. You can buy them in a package of 3. Pretty cheap. So I have one set there that I'm actually currently using in my kit, and then I actually, in a plastic Ziploc bag, I keep a spare set. In case I take a pinhole on it on a dive, I can simply just pick up the right glove and swap it out, save a dive. And here is the part. Let me grab my tape measure here. These are the couplers that I found at the hardware store over at Lowe's here in the US. You can find something appropriate. It's pretty standard stuff, but I've got a tape measure here, and just so you can kind of see, this is the part that we're most concerned about right here. And if you look at the inside diameter, it's a 4.5 inch inside diameter, and I believe they call this some type of a sewer, what is it, sewer drain. Let me get my glasses on here so I can actually read this plastic. It's all, the letters are all white. 4-inch DWV ASTM D2665 by 4-inch sewer and drain ASTM. Yeah, so it's an SDR35 PVC. I'll put some notes on that and some links down below so you can look that up. Basically, the part that we're most concerned about is this 4.5-inch internal diameter, and the rest of this over here, the outside diameter of the other side is 4.5-inch, but that's not the part that we're concerned about. We want the larger part here because it's going to come over and it slides right over. When you have the rubber glove on the inside of here, it's going to take up some of the space a little bit, and I'll explain and show you that in just a moment here. But we want to be able to clear this outer cuff on the Drysuit sleeve. So basically how I would load these, if I'm going to start with my left hand or right hand, it doesn't really matter. And the whole point of this is that you can don your gloves, your dry gloves on while you're getting ready without the assistance or need for your buddy or someone on the dive boat. So if we look at this, it's kind of cool because you got a little extra bit of plastic. Jill's was about as, her rings that she had printed, 3D printed, are about 1.5 inches maybe in width. But this actually has a little bit more plastic on it. It's a little bit larger, but it actually makes the loading actually quite nice and easy. This is the part that we want to go on this way. So we're going to bring the glove through with the larger diameter, and just it doesn't take much. And having that extra little shoulder, as you can see here, these chemical gloves that I'm using have a rolled cuff, is what they refer to it. It's almost thick like a little O-ring seal, and that's just to give it, to dress the end of it so it doesn't have tears as much. And I suppose also one of the concerns if you're working with chemicals or cleaners, if it were to hit that, it would hit that and roll off maybe, or divert any of the chemical from going up your sleeve or whatever maybe is part of it too. But I think some of it's just for durability so you don't get tears. And if we look here, you just lift it over that little, I'm going to back it off a little bit. You see there's a little shoulder on this plastic. So it's actually kind of, and it's just about the right width too of the glove, which is really cool. So once you have the glove in there, you just pull your hand in, and I made sure that these are all share the sizing and fitting. Now here's the real neat part about this. If you start with the bottom portion and get that inside of the plastic ring and then move the top portion over, and then once you get it all the way around, this rubber cuff inside of the PVC pipe fitting or coupler adapter, and then you start to push this way with the PVC, it actually pushes and rolls the rest of the glove right on top of it. So all you need to do is just kind of get it started in there. It doesn't really take much, but you know, if you can, and it goes pretty quick too. You can see where I've already got it started. I slowed it down just so you can see this action, and just push, and that pops right off at the end of the, and then you're completely sealed. You've got almost, let's see here, just to be a little bit more accurate, we've got a good 1.5 inch rubber seal on that outer cuff underneath the glove there. You got plenty of room. And like I said before, if you have your thumb loop, your elastic thumb loop from your dry undergarment or your undersuit, you can bring that up underneath your silicone wrist seal under here, so you can have it sticking out just a little bit. Or you can, I don't tend to do the little plastic breather hose because I'd probably lose those things and it would be a pain just always looking for them. And my undersuit has the thumb loop. If you don't have one of those, one of the other tricks that people have used is a little piece of like paracord. You can just keep some of that in your kit and just slip it underneath. You're just trying to break the seal from the skin so you can get air pressure to go through and equalize if as needed. So your glove is actually can equalize with your suit. That's like that. And now I'm going to demonstrate with the same loading ring, if you want to call it that, how you can still do this when you have, you could load them both up if you have two of these like I do. You can load them both up at the same time, or if you just want to do one at a time. And this is pretty much a pretty straightforward situation. I mean, it really is just that quick, and you can just pull it down there. It's all loaded there. You get it aligned correctly for your thumb and fingers. Just lightly seat your fingers like that, and then there we go. That quick and easy. So with that being said, you have two of them and you want to do two of them. They do kind of connect together inside of each other. You can simply put that back in your little storage bag and you can stow that away on your dive boat or in your vehicle or wherever you keep your stuff on shore with shore support, and you can go on with your dive. You don't need two people to do this. The problem, I guess, you would still have the same issue if you're using marigolds and you don't have those loading seals. If you do take off your glove and you're out there, you're going to have to find someone else to help you stretch it and pull it over. It's going to be a little bit of a pain or work or whatever you typically would do. I started using this system when I first started doing dry gloves, so it's pretty much all I know at this point. I haven't had experiences with the ones that connect. I'm sure they work great for people. I've heard different things from different divers as far as the different systems. Some work better than others, and if you get them snapped on right, they're great. And if they do come undone, then you kind of, it's a problem. But you got a lot of sealing area around here, and I've never had one of these blow off, and I've been diving these for, I don't know, last season, so it's been fine. The G1 gloves underneath, was it? Yeah, fourth element, fifth element. Well, I'm sorry. At any rate, yeah, you guys know. Same ones Jill called out. I tried them in 38-degree Fahrenheit water. We had snow on the ground, and I was in a lake, and my hands were completely froze out. So that didn't work for me. Now, I'll admit that these outer gloves are kind of tight. They're large. They're not extra large. And they're a little bit tighter around the neoprene underglove. We know the insulation properties are based upon neoprene and the air insulation in between the skin and the exterior, so you want to try to get that air gap in there so you can get as much insulation properties as possible. With that being said, though, if I'm going to be out in freezing temperatures or cold temperatures, I would probably opt to either go with a very thick neoprene wet glove or switch out and try some other gloves to go underneath with a larger, maybe like an extra large outer shell, which means is you're going to lose some dexterity, which is always the drawbacks and everything. But with this situation, I can still manipulate bolt snaps and such. Let me just grab one real quick here just to demonstrate. I believe I have one pretty close here that I can grab. And these are the newer XD bolt snaps, which actually lend themselves to be much easier to manipulate because you got that big shoulder on the back side, and then you have that nice protruding trigger point, and you can do it with the thumb, and if you needed to, you could still do it with your finger, but typically you want to clip in. Coming from the back side up underneath your D-ring. I was getting here dropping this, but if you're paying attention, you could still manage and clip this off. Still using these glove systems. I mean, you could do tank bells and all that other stuff too. You just have to practice a little bit and run through those routines. That's what I got for you today. So if you like it, I try to adapt to it and see if it works for you. It's definitely not very expensive, very easy. And then, removing, we did the donning. Let's do the doffing of the gloves. All you have to do is just pull up on it a little bit. There's plenty of room on the back side to get your thumb and forefinger around the edge there. And you can still break the seal. And just pull a little bit up on the fingers and the thumb right there, and then comes off real easily, just like that. And fourth element. Yes, absolutely. Everyone knows fourth element, the G1 gloves, very nice gloves. The one thing I will say that most divers probably won't have an issue with, but just keep this in mind, you'll learn it very quickly. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the G1 glove, let me just grab my phone real quick here. Just did a quick test, and yes, the G1 glove, and it's pretty much, yeah, there's a, well, it's not perfect for touchscreen on an Apple iPhone or an Android phone, but it will sometimes work. But yeah, that's just the situation. You're probably not going to be trying to operate your phone, but take care of all that before you put your gloves on. I am doing lost item recovery sometimes, so I'm actually dragging the iPhone out into the water to use Google Maps to get over the top of GPS locations that I have inside of a plastic bag, and learned very quickly that with a dry glove system on, I was not able to manipulate the phone inside the bag. So one of the latest iterations is using a stylus that has a touch tip, and it actually works through the vinyl plastic and it still operates the phone. So that's a whole other story that most divers don't really have any concern about for the most part. But yep, it's that easy. Just pull off the glove, let it pop right off, and you're good to go. So yep, these are really nice gloves. So the G1 gloves, I like them. I just learned that I just called them recently, and at the end of I think the beginning part of just this, I don't know, was it December or it's January 2024 now, and they just came out with another underglove that's thicker. Don't have the, it's made out of some really cool material like they all have, you know, so it's supposed to be some high-tech super insulative material, and they're going to be a little bit thicker. So if I do get a pair of those, I'm going to have to probably upsize my chemical glove, but it might be an option for those colder dive environment or conditions that you get into once in a while during wintertime. Anyway, thanks. Like, share, and subscribe. If you've lost anything, definitely give me a call in the Washington State area, 206-618-8194. If you lost anything of value in the water, the grass, the sand, house, the car, all that, you can check out my other videos on my channel and see some of the exciting adventures that I've been involved in. But I wanted to share this with you guys, that I will go ahead and put the details on those couplers, or if we want to call them loading rings, we could call them that. And they tend to work really well. So with that, hopefully it helps somebody out. Maybe you guys come up with something else, but I don't see a real need at this point to overexcite someone that they have to necessarily go out there and find someone with a 3D printer and put in a lot of effort in that regards to get these loading rings. They're just a few bucks from the hardware store, and it's quite common plumbing parts. And the edges on them, if we look at them real closely, are pretty much finished. There's no real sharp edges. I haven't had any problems stretching the gloves over this. I haven't had any rip or tear because of this coupler. So if you try to cut a piece of PVC pipe, though, there's going to be some sharp edges, and if you're going to have to do a lot of sanding, you have to buy a big long stick of it. A whole lot of other issues you might have to look into. But as you already saw, having this little bit of this crown part here, it's almost like a handle, or it actually helps the system where you can just continue to push real easily, and the glove just rolls off the backside. So I tend to like this solution. It works really well. I haven't had any real issues with it. Just be careful. It is round. If it gets like a wagon wheel and rolls off the edge of the dock, you might have to dive down there, or rolls down to the other end of the boat because you dropped it, and then you have to have someone else bring it over to you if you're boat diving, or if you're at a, I don't know. Just be careful. It is round, so it could roll away from you. But that's with any bit of gear. We always got to keep our eye on everything. Keep it secure, tie it off if you're in a boat or whatever when you're not using it. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
If you've lost your ring or special item of value, please get in touch with me at the SeattleRingHunter.com as soon as possible so I can arrange to do a search for you.